everybody. Welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie, Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
So today we're doing another one of our Convincing My Bestie to Read videos. And today I'm convincing Mandy to read Wildman romances.
Dun, dun, dun.
Aren't you excited?
I am.
Okay. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are still giving away our copy of Elsie Silver's Flawless. This is the signed copy that we got when we were down in Seattle, at Love in Seattle. And so we'll be giving this away when we hit 250 subscribers. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, which is linked down below, because you get an extra entry into the drawing when you do that. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this is where I will give Mandy 6 recommendations of my little Wildman trope, and they're all kind of different, and I'll explain them when we get to them, and then she gets to choose one, and she'll read it, and then we hear what she thinks about that book.
Okay, so we're doing Wildman.
Or Wildman. So they're all kind of different in the Wildman aspect, but like there's something that makes them wild, and I'll tell you when I get to them, like why they're considered a Wildman romance. So Okay, so the first book I actually don't have a physical book for this one. The first book that I have is Fall by Claire Kent. Now, you have read the first book in this series. This is a 4-book series. You read the first one. It was one of your alien books that you read.
Yes, I read Hold.
Okay, so this is the third in that series. You don't have to read the second one. I didn't. I wasn't interested in it. I just went from the first to Fall, which is the third.
Okay.
So this is about Lena and Roan. So Lena is a captain. Like she captains her own spaceship out there in space, right? And something happens and she has to land, or she lands on this planet. The planet is a primitive caveman planet when she gets there. And that is where she meets Roan, who is essentially a caveman. She gets herself a caveman husband. But if she has to do what she has to do to survive. And so this is their story. It's a lot like Transcendence, and I know that you like Transcendence. This one's really a shorter book. It's not very long, and it gives you that Transcendence vibe. So if you love Transcendence, this is, obviously it's not as absolutely amazing as Transcendence, but it's still just as good.
Can they communicate with each other?
Yeah. More than they could in Transcendence. Let's put it that way. Okay. And she's not the only one there who has crash landed who's not a part of this primitive planet. And there are other primitive tribes there too that they have to watch out for. So there's a lot of things going on in this one for such a short book. I think it's only like 11 chapters. It is not very long. Okay. And I think there's audio for that one. I think. 99% sure. Okay, so then the next book, you've heard me talk about this one. This is another short one. There's no audio for this one. We have a fast turnaround on this, so that's why I'm telling Mandy all this stuff. But this is Row by Dylan Page. I love this book. It is one of my favorite reads from last year. I can't wait for the next book. All right, so this book takes place in 1973, and it is about Row and Kate. So Kate goes on a kayaking trip with 3 of her friends from the college where she lives. The reason why it's set in the 70s, I think, is because there's no like satellites and, cell phones and GPS and whatever back in the day. And I think that's why she had to set it in the 70s. Because at first I was like, why is this set in the 70s? That's why it's set in the 70s. So she and her girlfriends go on this kayaking expedition, and they have the map and they have it all mapped out, and off they go. Well, the one that they was supposed to be in charge really didn't know what she was doing, even though she said she did. And they end up having an accident, and the girls all get separated. They're in Oregon in this this park that has been closed to the community because of things that have happened. And there's rumors and stuff going on for many, many, many years. And supposedly it's just opening. And so they're in this state park that people don't fly over. Nothing happens there. So their kayaks all crash. She's in the wilderness. It's dark. And she gets discovered by this tribe. And they're human. They're human. They're just cave people. Like, they haven't been exposed to the real world. And that's where we meet Roe. And Roe decides that Kate is his. And so he takes her to protect her and keep her safe. And then all these other things happen. And it's just so good. Again, very Transcendency vibes. No, they don't. He learns certain words, but the communication isn't there like you think it is. So, okay.
Okay.
And in true Dylan Page fashion, just check your triggers. Because things happen. So then the next book that I have is Love in the Wild by Emma Castle. This is a Tarzan retelling set in our day and time. So this is about Eden and Thorn. So Thorn is our Tarzan. And when he was a little boy, a toddler, he was flying into the Congo or into the jungles with his parents, and their plane crashed. Parents didn't survive. He did, obviously raised by apes. Okay. And then you have Eden, and Eden is a photographer, and she's gone on this expedition to photograph the gorillas in the jungle. And when they get out there, they get attacked by these poachers, and she is the only one to survive the situation, and that is because Thorn rescues her. And so this is their story, and I love this story. There is audio for this one. It is so good. I love it. It's good. All right, your next option. I told you to read this several times. Okay, this one does have audio as well. Captive of the Horde King by Zoe Draven. This is the Horde King. Isn't he hot? Say yes. Okay. So this one is about Luna. What's there? Somebody there? Oh, okay. So this is a story about Luna and Rokon. So Luna is, so we've left Earth. We inhabit other planets now. Something happened to the spaceship years ago where it was taking us to wherever we were going to go. Why are we laughing so hard? Who's there? Why would you do that? So Luna's mom, we've inhabited this planet. We crashed on the way to the place where we were going to go, right? Where the humans were going to go to inhabit. And it is onto this planet of Dakar. So we have settlements set up on the planet of Dakar. They're ran by the Dakari, which is the primitive people that live there. And the Dakaris have these hordes and these horde kings. There's like 6 or 7 hordes, and they each have a king, which is the guy who totally like runs it. This is definitely kind of Dothraki Game of Thrones vibes. And so you're not allowed as a human, you're not allowed to set fire or do anything to harm the land because they believe their goddess lives as a part of the land or whatever. And so Luna's brother sets fire to their crops because they're all starving, and he thinks it'll fertilize the soil. He's heard that. And instead of it doing that, it brings the Dakari horde warriors to their encampment, to their home. And instead of Luna letting her brother get in trouble, she steps up and says, no, it was me. And so she was willing to face the punishment, but the Horde King decides he doesn't want to punish her. He wants her for his queen, and he takes her. So he's the primitive one there. Can you see why these are wild men? They're all wild in their own way.
Okay.
And then the very, very last one, which is a little bit different. But this one I've tried to get you to read before too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know here. Okay. Is Wild by D.D. Prince. So this one's different. This is Shifter, so you're going to have to keep that in mind. But this is about Tyson. And Tyson was raised by his uncle. He was taken from his group of people, his not clan, but like his what do you call it? His pack. He was taken from his pack when he was little. His uncle has raised him in the wilderness and has raised him to know like that people are bad. And they've spent a lot of time in their wolf form, and he's not been raised in society. He's just awkward, and he's weird, and he's wild that way. He doesn't talk a lot, the whole thing. And then we have our heroine. Son of a booger. Ivy. Whew, okay. So then we have our heroine, Ivy, and she's gone on a girls' trip, and she's on her way home when she sees a wolf in the road, and she veers, tries not to hit him, but she ends up hitting him. And next thing, she's about to fall off a cliff in her car, and next thing she knows, she sees this guy stand up next to her. So Tyson is the guy that stands up next to her car, and he saves her, and he pulls her back. He has hunted her because he could smell her, and he knew that she was his mate. And so he takes her, and he takes her back to his cabin, and things commence from there. So that is my last wild man for you. So then the very last book that I have for you is Wildling by Lynn Burke. This is the second in her Midnight Sun series that I've told you about, but you can read them out of order because I did. So this is about Roan and Annie. So Annie lives in a remote village in Alaska, and every so often this guy will come in from out in the bush, and he comes in to get supplies. And so he comes in one time, and they've gone like on 1 or 2 days. He's a lot older than her. And he's like, her parents are hoarders, and they don't take care of her, and they're really horrible people. And so she, just because the way they treat her, they're really not good. And so she wants to get away. And so when he proposes marriage, she marries him that night. And then he takes her out to his homestead. Now, when she marries him, she's a virgin. She's never really dated anybody. She's kind of awkward on her own. And once she marries him, he is not very nice to her at all. And he starts to become abusive once they get back out to the homestead. So when they get out there, she finds out that he has a son, which is Roan. And Roan is 18. And he and Annie develop a bond and a friendship because he's very cruel to the son as well. And he's, been raised out in Alaska in the wilderness, and he isn't allowed to go to town. He's never been to town. Like when the float plane comes in and brings them chocolate, like that is like the biggest deal to him because he just has never been out in civilization, and he's always been raised as a wild child out in the woods. And this is their story. So that one's very dark too, but oh, I love that story so much. And she does Alaska right. So, all right. I know. So there's your 6 options. What are you going to read?
Okay, there's a couple that stood out to me. I've been wanting to read Roe. You've talked about it. And I've been wanting to read Wildling. You've talked about that one too. Love in the Wild also stood out to me. The other 2, I'm not so sure. Although with Wild, you kind of had me about like the whole car wreck, and he's like a shifter and all that. So that sounds kind of good. So I think I'm going to go with Roe. But I also plan to read Wildling. I actually might read a few of these at some point. I'll put them on my TBR, but for this, I'm going to go with Roe.
Okay. I'm excited for you to read Roe. I'm so excited to see what you think of it.
Okay.
Because you know me, I've got my own weird ideas on things. All right. So we will check back in a few days and see how you liked it. All right, Mandy. So you've read Roe. Oh, no. I can see your face. Okay. Tell me what you thought of it.
I didn't like it. I can't believe you like it. I didn't like it at all, Jessica. So technically, I need to rate it a 2 because I didn't like it. A 3 would be I liked it.
I know, but I don't everybody
like it. I was on board for a while, and then I just really didn't like it.
It's okay. It's not like that kind of romance is not for everybody. And you and I, even though we read romance, we've talked about this a lot. We are on like 2 different spectrums here of romance.
I love Transcendence though.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to love everything. This is the only time I've steered you wrong.
That is true.
That is true. Yep.
I wish I would have picked Wildling because I think I would have liked that a lot better.
I think you would have too. I think maybe you need to go read that instead.
So I don't want to give a spoiler away, but I think my main hang up was that like in Transcendence, she's kind of stuck there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in Wildling, you told us that she marries this guy to get away from her family, basically.
Yes.
Because they're hoarders and stuff. Yep. And so here, I just didn't quite grasp what the appeal was to leave everything.
The hot caveman is the appeal. Are you kidding me? The hot caveman.
Do you know
Plus, she doesn't know where she is. There's bad guys. There's bad clans out there. She doesn't know what's out there, and she's safe there with Roe. So, what are you gonna say?
I read a review that called her dumb as a box of rocks.
She probably is. But I still loved it. I still enjoyed it. So that's okay.
To be fair, Dylan Page just might not be an author I love because I did not enjoy the Torment series.
And I did. I liked Torment series. I mean, it disturbed the crud out of me.
Which is weird because when I told you what happened in that year book, you were like, absolutely not. That is not a romance.
And then I read it.
So
yeah.
But what I found interesting is like there's no mention of what happens to everybody else. Really?
Because it's coming.
When? Because that book was written a while ago.
The book was written last year. And the next book is supposed to be out.
It was last year.
It was a year. It was last year. Unless time has flown by faster than what I think, but it was last year. And I think the next one is supposed to be out this coming fall.
Is that what it is?
That's a different one that's coming out. It's the next one in the Torment series is coming out this fall. She's writing it. She talks about it on her Facebook page quite often, but she's had some personal issues lately. Some personal things that have happened.
Oh, it was published in 2022.
Yeah.
So it was a year ago.
Yeah, she only really puts out like a book a year.
Okay.
To get the most. And then she's had she went through a divorce this year and stuff. So there's some things going on there. And so she's a little bit slower at writing, and that's okay.
What's happening in the author world. Ashley Jade is going through the same thing, which is delayed the consequence.
Yep. So it happens. It's okay.
I'm like on the edge of my seat waiting for that book to come out. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I didn't like it. It's the first time that's happened. So
it's okay.
We'll
just because, yeah, we'll let it go.
This one time.
This one time. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Make sure to check back for new videos from us on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, where Jessica will continue to not lead us astray.
I didn't lead her astray this time either, guys. Just go read it. And we'll see you in the next video.